Ezekiel Stane isn't just another tech-savvy villain. He's the heir to a legacy of power and vengeance. As the son of Obadiah Stane, the ruthless mastermind behind the Ironmonger, Ezekiel grew up surrounded by his father's obsession with taking down Tony Stark. After Obadiah's death, that obsession didn't die, it evolved. Instead of following in his father's footsteps and building an armored suit, Ezekiel took a different approach, integrating cutting-edge biotech directly into his own body, turning himself into a living weapon. Now let's get right into the video and find out who is Ezekiel Stane. Ezekiel Stane grew up with a deep hatred for Tony Stark. From a very early age, he operated in the shadows, developing next-gen weapons for terrorists. He reverse-engineered Stark technology, but rather than use an armored suit, he integrated the technology into his own body, becoming faster, stronger, and deadlier than any machine Stark could build. Zeke wasn't content with just destroying Tony Stark. He wanted to destroy everything that Stark loved and watch him suffer first. He pulled the strings of numerous villains, using them to destroy the Order, Tony Stark's California Initiative team. For Zeke, this was personal. Stark had taken his father from him, and this was only the beginning of his quest for revenge. While terrorizing the Order, Zeke boldly had a face-to-face meeting with Tony at a scene of an incident. Stark had no idea at the time he was talking to the man who was orchestrating his demise. Ezekiel had been working for a large tobacco company. They had hired him to invent a cigarette that made the smoker lose weight. Zeke had already enhanced himself as far as he could on his own resources and took the job so he could secretly use the company's money, labs, and technology to take his upgrades to the next level. He lived up to his word and created the cigarette he was hired to make, but no longer needing their money or technology, he executed the entire board of directors for his own moral reasons. Then after experimenting with turning people into living repulsor bombs in Africa using black market Stark technology, he felt his technology was ready to be put to use in his broader plan to undermine Tony Stark. He turned suicide bombers into living repulsor bombs in the Philippines and used them to blow up the Triumph division at a ceremony honoring the team. Then, to provoke Stark into a final confrontation, Zeke made the situation personal for Stark. Disguised as a waiter, he confronted Stark at an event at Stark Dynamics, revealing his true identity to Stark just before his living repulsor bombs detonated, incinerating everyone in the building. Stark barely survived by slipping into his armor just in time, but the blast critically injured Pepper Potts, who was just outside of the building. Ezekiel survived the blast due to his enhancements, but emerged with second-degree burns and his hair burnt away. He was quickly able to heal due to his healing factor, and in response to learning that his body, even with all of his enhancements, was still vulnerable to heat, Ezekiel designed himself a special suit to protect him from the extreme heat. Ezekiel was now ready for his final act in taking his revenge on Tony Stark. He armed an army of willing suicide bombers. He then dispatched them to Long Island, Valencia, Tokyo, and Los Angeles, the sites of Stark Industries facilities. Ezekiel not only wanted to kill Tony Stark, he wanted to kill Stark Industries along with him. Fortunately for Stark, he had placed tracers into the Stark technology he had placed on the black market as a means to track down Ezekiel. The tracers activated, giving Stark a heads up on Ezekiel's plan. Stark knew he couldn't be in 4 places at once, but during a game of chess with Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four, Stark had come up with a plan. He sent out Iron Man drones controlled by his brainwaves to all 4 locations. Unaware of that fact, Ezekiel confronted what he believed to be Tony Stark, giving up his location. He battled the Iron Man drone, and at the height of the battle, he killed the drone in the same fashion his father was killed, a repulsor blast to the face. Zeke celebrated his accomplishment until he realized that Stark wasn't in the suit. He had underestimated Stark, and by this time a number of Iron Man drones had shown up at Ezekiel's location. Ezekiel began destroying the drones, trying to find the suit that Stark was in. But Stark was still one step ahead of Zeke. He shut down every piece of stolen Stark technology, stripping Zeke of his advantage. The two now had to face each other man to man. Stark put a beating on Ezekiel and then delivered the final blow, but not with his fist, this time with his words. "Your dad was smarter than you and harder to beat." Now let's take a look at Ezekiel's powers and abilities. Zeke's genius-level intellect allowed him to develop cutting-edge biotechnology, enhancing his own body rather than relying on external armor. His accelerated metabolism granted him superhuman endurance, enabling him to fight for extended periods without fatigue. His bio upgrades allowed him to generate repulsor blasts directly from his body, making him a walking arsenal. His accelerated healing factor enables him to recover from injuries at an enhanced rate, and his cybernetic implants grant him superhuman strength, allowing him to lift up to 20 tons, making him physically formidable in combat. Ezekiel's story is far from over. Even after his defeat, Zeke continues to operate in the shadows, refining his biotechnology and forging new alliances. Whether he's working for the Mandarin or alongside the Hellfire Club, manipulating a revolution in Wakanda, or actually teaming up with Tony Stark, Ezekiel Stane remains a persistent threat. So what do you think about the rumors of Ezekiel Stane appearing in the Ironheart series? If he does, will he be a foe or an ally of Ironheart? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more journeys into the worlds of Marvel, DC, and more. Thanks for watching. Peace.